Hello and welcome back to our Retire Early lifestyle. You might not believe this, but expatriation and even tourism is really not wanted in most countries of the world. These countries put up with tourism for the money boost it brings to the economy, and that's it. Expats do bring in money to the economy, there is no doubt about that, but in some instances, they can also put a strain on public services and local housing. How do we know this? Well, we've seen both happen in real time. It's part of the vicious cycle of tourism and expatriation that we see in favored popular countries ever since the internet arrived. You know which countries: Portugal, Thailand, Italy, Vietnam, Albania, Spain, Cambodia, you name it. Well, here, look for yourself. There are 6 stages of the foreigner bubble, but in this video we're going to break it down in a nutshell for you with the top 3, which is curiosity, resentment, and crime. Stage 1, curiosity. So during the curiosity stage, the governments of these newly touted countries welcome you with open arms. They have affordable visas for permanent residency, and the process is really easy breezy. This stage happens really fast. It is the stage when people first learn about how great and wonderful a country is by all the peddlers and promoters out there on the internet. Certain countries start trending as if they're the best thing since honey. Ironically, they've all been on this planet since before you were born, but no one cared about them then until just the last 15 years or so. Out of sight, out of mind, right? So a bunch of foreigners show up wanting to become expats, and at first they may even wonder why so many foreigners want to move to their country on a whim. For example, we were asked a multitude of times from different locals, why did you move to Ecuador for? Which neighborhood do you live in? How much do you pay for rent? Do you like it here? At first, the Ecuadorians wonder why all of these Americans were moving to their country to live. They didn't really understand it, and so they were genuinely curious. The local folks in these countries don't and won't know what hit them until after the prices for rentals, real estate, restaurants, taxis, attractions, and mercados start spiraling out of control. They're really just curious about all the foreigners in their country. The gringo bubble started in Ecuador when either Ecuador or Cuenca was listed as the best place to retire for 5 years in a row starting in 2010 by the Retire Abroad media, the RAMs, and that began an expatriation of Americans moving to Ecuador like we've never seen before. What do you think happened? After 2 years, rental prices doubled and tripled. In 2011, when we got to Ecuador, the local prices for a nice 2 or 3 bedroom, 2-bath home was between $250 and $350, okay? But after 2 years, those rentals went up to $500 and $700 and up to $1,000 for the ones with views and first floor bedroom suites. And really, prices for rentals in Cuenca can go up to as much as the American expat is willing to pay. That's why now you see $2,500 rentals on the Ecuador coasts, which we think is outrageous. When you place unusually large numbers of people, wealthier than the locals, into a poor country, this is what happens. The expats compare to rents back home, and so anything looks good compared to $2,000 to $2,500 coming from back home, right? After the prices start affecting the locals, that's when stage 2, resentment, becomes apparent. In Ecuador, stage 2 happened after about 2 years of Ecuador being touted really hard by the RAMs. At this point, it's mostly hidden, but if you look for it, you will find it. You start seeing locals placing ads for rentals in their price range because they can't find any the way they used to do it. Even at the early resentment stage, it can play out uncomfortably. on a personal level. An example of this is one day we were walking on the river trail, minding our own business, when a local guy walked by and spit right there in front of us. That's resentment. They don't have to say anything. Their actions speak louder than words. Yes, some Ecuadorians express concern that the influx of American expats is driving up local prices, particularly in areas like Cuenca. Let me tell you a secret. For the most part, Latin Americans typically don't like confrontation, and you won't really know by talking with them if they feel resentful about rising prices in their city. You'll find out, though, through other people and comments that they might leave on forums and such about the rise in rentals. Mexico has been the only Latin American country that we've seen that actually has come out and protested in the streets against too many foreigners and rising prices. So anyway, with the onset of foreigners in their country and rising prices, come the thieves and basically just more crime. This is the last stage of the foreigner bubble we also call the vicious cycle, and that is crime against the foreigners. Home invasions, robberies, and street crime goes way up in these countries, where foreigners are flocking to and setting up house. By the way, I'm not talking about cartel violence. Cartel crime is a totally different type of crime from the typical crimes against foreigners, and so we just want to make that distinction, okay? Let's talk about Europe. The vicious cycle works the exact same way in Southern Europe. Stage 1 in Europe of the curiosity. At first, just like in Latin America, the governments welcome you with open arms, but it doesn't take long for them to see how foreigners are willing to spend money differently than the local folks, and they think, hey, we can make money from all these foreigners with the golden visa scheme. Let's fill the coffers. Here's the secret. These countries in Southern Europe have old cement colonial buildings that no one really wants. They're not even in very desirable neighborhoods. They're just sitting there and decaying more and more every day. So here's what the government does in Italy, Greece, Spain, wherever they have the golden visa, Portugal. The gullible foreigners show up and buy a golden visa, and they buy these decaying old rock buildings for 250,000 euros to convert into a tourist rental. Now remember, euros need to be converted into dollars. They think, these foreigners are throwing money around like they don't have a care in the world. How can we take advantage of these rich Americans and Brits? I know what we can do. Let's raise the investment thresholds for the residency visas. They probably won't even notice. They see the foreigners barely flinching at paying $500,000 for an old cement building, so what do? They just keep raising the golden visa for investment price. Greece in 2024 raised their golden visa for investment for the third time to $800,000. This is real, folks, and we're the guinea pigs. Greece has raised the thresholds for its golden visa program multiple times. The current investment requirements are 800,000 euros in high-demand areas. What does it feel like to be the guinea pig? The test is to see how much the next guinea pig is willing to pay for an old colonial cement dwelling. And in case you're one of those that thinks, well, that only affects the much wealthier type of expats, think again. Prices have a way of filtering down. We've seen it with our own eyes. They have uttered the words right in front of us, so we know. Locals see a property sell for an amount, and even if their property is way across town, they will think, well, if that property is worth that much, then my property is now worth this much, he figures with a quick math calculation. Stage 2 of the foreigner bubble in Europe is resentment. The resentment in Europe has become so strong the locals actually go out into the streets and tell the foreigners to go home. Yuck. I wouldn't like that at all. These are the places in Europe facing massive anti-tourism sentiments and over-tourism protests. Spain, Italy, Portugal, and Greece. Greece didn't used to be on there, but last couple of years, Greece has a lot of crime too. The protests progressed to poopy lock boxes on Airbnbs and spitting in your beer in restaurants, and this is by the normal local people. Spain and Italy, Portugal and Greece lead powerful anti-tourism revolt as frustrated locals rise against over-tourism. At first, Portugal just wanted the Californians to go home, but now it has progressed to all of us just go home. The local resentment reaches the governments, and they all start introducing more stringent visa rules and regulations for foreigners. Governments often respond to high visa demand by adjusting their immigration policies. This can include increasing visa quotas and implementing stricter eligibility criteria. Why do you think countries like Italy and France are updating their taxes for foreign residents? As of 2026, both Italy and France have updated their tax regimes, which may influence the overall tax burden for foreign residents, including Americans. Americans have reported that the bureaucracy is so challenging and frustrating to navigate over there that they just give up and leave. True story. Do you think that is a coincidence? Foreigners, especially higher net worth folks, may find their tax obligations have increased or have become more complex due to these new 2026 tax changes. What do you think? Do you find it strange that these high traffic countries are actually making it more challenging for foreigners to live there rather than easier for them? You would think they would become more organized and efficient through the many years they have been having North Americans move to their country over the years. But it's in fact more challenging and costlier than ever before, which is just the opposite. What do you think about that? And have you seen this about Italian citizenship? I guess they don't even want their own descendants now. Italy ruling tells millions with Italian roots they have lost the right to citizenship. Well, apparently those in Italian government think if they're not regulating people, they're not doing their job. What do you think? Why are they closing the door or putting hurdles in front of people with Italian grandparents for? I know that if I was born in Italy, I would want my grandchildren to have automatic citizenship. It's just the right thing to do, without conditions, but that's just our opinion. Tell us what you think about this in the comments. Let us tell you a little secret. All the countries now are getting worse, and they want foreigners in their tax bracket so you cannot fall through the cracks, and is why they have raised their financial thresholds for residency now to make sure you're paying taxes while living abroad. So after the more stringent rules and regulations for visas, higher financial thresholds for visas, costlier golden visa for property investment, higher taxes and new regulations for foreigners, silly street regulations for foreigners, anti-tourist sentiment, street protests against tourists, then comes stage 3, the crime waves. With droves of tourists coming into town, street crime and scams start happening all over the place, and that's where we're at right now. Italy joins France, Spain, Greece, Germany, and the Netherlands in surging crime rate in Europe. Italy, Spain, and Portugal are seeing street crime off the charts right now. So let me tell you something about petty street crime. It's not that petty, and it is a terrible word to be using for street crime. Tourists are being targeted in Rome as a surge in muggings and pickpocketing has hit the Italian capital. But this is what the Rams and vloggers do. They minimize crime as if it's okay that foreigners are getting their jewelry, electronics, purses, and wallets stolen. Have you ever asked someone who had their gold-looking earrings snatched from their ears by a motorcycle thief and now have painful ear, it's all torn up and bleeding? Ask her if that was petty. Ask the man who got his wallet taken with all of his credit cards in it and can't buy food or get an airplane ticket home if that was petty to him. Ask the retiree lady who got her purse snatched from her and was knocked to the ground and sprained her hip in the process. Ask her if that felt like a petty crime. It's always petty street crime until it happens to you. Another comment I saw the other day was this: well, I'd rather be living in Europe and have my camera stolen than living in New York and getting murdered, because that's what happens in the US. Believe me, you do not want me to dissect this comment because it is the silliest and dumbest thing I've ever heard. This is how people downplay street crime abroad. Street crimes against the foreigner should not be downplayed, and we will not do it on this channel. That's ridiculous. And by the way, we've never lived in New York, and neither have most Americans. Thievery of any kind is a crime and is not an insignificant or petty thing. Warning issued to anyone traveling to Italy, France, and Spain on vacation. They're letting people know that tourists are being targeted for theft in all of these great areas that everybody wants to go to, and it's prompting all these new warnings for travelers that are planning to go for European vacations. Scams are also on the rise in all of these countries, and it's not looking good. Remember, we've always said crime follows the tourist, and that's what's happening here. 20 scams on the rise in Italy. Italian authorities have issued urgent warnings about increasingly sophisticated scam networks targeting international visitors across the country's major tourist destinations. Italy has always seen a little bit of crime and scams through the years, but not like this. This is over the top. Now let's talk about Asia. Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand are all going through the stages of the foreigner bubble right now. They're mostly in the resentment stage because of rising prices, with the exception of Thailand. We think Thailand is in stage 3, the crime wave. Street crime in Thailand has been increasing, particularly in urban areas like Pattaya, where incidents of theft and violent muggings have raised concerns among residents and tourists. These are just recent crime news, and this just happened last week. This unfortunate man was found in a drainage ditch. This was a prime example of the target of a rich foreigner. British reality TV star found dead in Phuket. This was just on March 20th. Thailand is not safe like it used to be 20 years ago. There are a lot of street crimes, robberies of foreigners' apartments, and scams galore. A few weeks earlier, in February of 2026, a man was just walking on the beach in Phuket and he got assaulted. He was beaten so bad that he passed away from his injuries in the Phuket hospital. Australian tourist dies from beating in Phuket. He was only 58 years old. All he was doing was walking on the beach. Very soon, Vietnam and Cambodia will both become rife with crime, just like Southern Europe, Latin America, and Thailand. It's how the vicious cycle works inside the foreigner bubbles. If you happen to be living abroad in one of these popular expat locations, which stage of the bubble are you in right now? If you have already gone abroad, which stage did you leave and move back home in? Tell us your experience. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching our video reports about the things you really need to know when you travel and move to a foreign country. Take care and bye-bye.